I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask our fearless Dan to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. First order is to introduce, to review the agenda. We do have something that it has been, it's an item of new business, and it's been requested that we table this or move for a continuance, and that is the Lynette Shepherd, Mike Morse application. So I will take a motion, or if anybody wants to talk about the continuance. Anybody have anything? I don't know if the applicant's here, wants to explain why.
Do we know officially?
Do we know why?
Do we know why?
The application is a partial application at the moment. We still need them to submit site plan review approval or documentation for the workshop that's going to be moved from the wharf back onto the rear part of the property.
Yeah.
We requested that the applicant provide that information, and we haven't gotten it yet. They're going to be looking into that, and will be hopefully coming back next month with
Okay, okay,
Do we
great.
have all the permits as well?
it. We did receive, I think we got the DEP this week. And the other one, Margaret, did we get? No, we haven't gotten the other one yet.
So it's kind of moved anyway, we have to.
Yeah.
We could always approve it or not approve it based on them getting their permits, but, okay, well, that takes one item off the agenda, so I will move that we grant the request for continuance by Lynette Shepherd, who is the owner, and Mike Morse, Archipelago representative for MAP 17, Lot 151-225 Ash Point Road. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you.
We're going to continue it for a month, just for one meeting.
Okay, so we'll
Time
continue
certain,
for a
yeah.
month, okay. All right, any other discussion? All in favor? All right, thank you very much. All right. The first thing I should have done was call for a quorum.
Yeah.
But we do have a quorum. Let's introduce ourselves, starting here.
Howard Levitan, Oars Island.
Courtney Snellings, Orr's Island.
Amy Heibel, Harpswell.
Matt Gilling, County's Harbor.
Dan Hobeck, Courtney's next door neighbor.
Christine Donovan Hall, Oars Island.
Matthew James, I'm the town planner.
Thank you. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have a quorum. Christine will vote. Matt, if Christine says, I don't want to vote, you will vote. But you're always welcome to put your 2 cents in, and your observations and wisdom are always welcome. Okay, so we have a quorum, introduction of board members and staff, and the first item of business is old business. It's Irene Pelletier, trustee for Lucian and Thibault Testamentary Family Trust. All right, the way that I'm going to do this is the way that I always try to do it. And that is, I will just read a little bit about the application, then I'm going to turn it over to the planner for clarification. And then board members can ask for questions, clarifications that they want. And then if the applicant wishes to say something, always welcome to correct us or add to what we have or fill in the blanks. Okay.
That's about ours.
Yes, this is the.
And I don't know if you heard everything you said.
Oh, that's okay. What I basically said was you're always welcome to add to our information. We're going to describe the application so that folks that are watching or later know what we're talking about. Then I'll ask the planner for his input and his update and his wisdom, and then we'll turn it over to the board to ask questions and And then the applicant is welcome to also participate. Just when you get up there, state your name. That's it. Okay, so this is a request for permission to remove a non-conforming pool. It's an old pool, and construct a new non-conforming pool in its place. The application also includes a non-conforming deck, which will be removed and replaced. The removal is partly due to age and a lot due to the storm that we had that wreaked havoc on the property and the pool and the deck. So the applicant proposes to essentially replace the pool in the same place that it was in, which is in the shoreland and floodplain zones. The location is constrained by the existence of a septic system, some drainage culverts, an existing pool house, a driveway, and a parking area, and the single-family home. This lot is on .76 acres, so if this property was to be developed today, it would not be developed in the same way. The board can take two separate actions here. This is a question of whether or not the board wants to take jurisdiction and review this application, or turn it over to the codes office and have the codes office monitor the application and make sure that it's in compliance as it's constructed. So in this situation, the board has the option of either taking jurisdiction or remanding it to the codes office. So I'll ask the planner to fill in and, oh, sorry.
Madam Chairman,
Yes,
this goes back a couple of months.
yes, it does.
And I was not on the site walk for this, and I think it probably makes more sense for Matt to vote on this rather than me, since he has more information on that.
Were you on the site walk? Okay, yeah, thank you, Dan.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yes,
Yeah, so this application, it was here a number of months ago, and the applicants provided a little bit more information. There was concerns about whether or not the pool could be moved further back, if not fully somewhere else on the property that was conforming, if it could at least be moved back a little bit. As designed, the pool and deck, if we view it as a single unit, cannot exactly be moved back in a meaningful way based on the location of the septic field. So that septic field approaches very near to the edge of the pool house and the drainage culverts that are now defined on the newly submitted materials. The pool itself is set back from the drainage culverts, but the deck overlies, very close to the septic field, which cannot be disturbed. I don't know if the applicant has more information that they'd like to share, but I'll open it up to him to do so now, if you'd like.
My name is Jason Tebow, and based on what he's explaining, I'm pretty much in agreement. There is some electrical lines that also run from the main house to, I'll call an outbuilding, but it's actually a garage that runs through that same area. The culverts are very close. We redid the septic field about 2 years ago, and one of the pieces and parts of this was that we needed to expand the toe, because the toe or the edge of the original septic field ended up blowing out. So a part of the piece of the second time of doing this, we ended up having to extend that toe, and it does run basically all the way to where the culvert is, as well as underneath the existing pool shed. We had to elevate it. That was kind of the demand, like lift it up, expand the toe, and all of that. So moving the pool and the deck really is going to start impeding and create more of a disturbance, I think, in my opinion. to what's there and needs to stay in its existence. So even moving something such as the pool would then start undermining said drainage that's there and start impacting the septic field because it's really close. So then at what point is it better to move the pool and then start impeding onto the septic field or leaving it right where it is? And that's what we're asking for, is to just replace in the same spot where it is.
Okay, thank you. Jason, the board have any questions?
I have a question for you, Matt. I had a problem, thank you. With the sentence on page 3, given the potential to reduce the shoreline setback nonconformity of the pool and deck by minimizing the encroachment into the required setback, as well as a limited ability to locate the replacement structure, et cetera, et cetera. But is there really any potential? When you said given the potential, so I thought maybe I'd missed something, and I looked at page 1 where it said there wasn't any. The structure does not appear, the design does not appear to have considered making the replacement structure more conforming with the setback requirements. So I was just a little bit confused.
Yeah, I think, sorry for that. I'm trying to get used to the previous planner's formatting, and I need to make some blank copies of these so that I can redo it every month, because there's no blank copies, so I just have to redo it over and over again. So let's strike that, because that was from the last
Okay, so there wasn't
application.
any, it's not that there really is potential. That was, I was confused at first.
Right, yeah, there's not a potential.
Okay, so this is on page 3.
Thank
What
you.
paragraph is it?
That
Barbie?
is the,
Oh, given, okay.
Yeah, I was just a little bit confused by the wording and thought maybe I'd misunderstood something.
So I want to make sure that in the minutes that this is accurate.
Yeah.
So how would you like this to read?
I would say, given the limited ability to locate the replacement structure differently due to existing structures and features.
Okay.
And just remove that part of the sentence that goes from the potential to as well as, if you know what I mean. And-
Okay, Matt, thank you very much. Okay, so that's good to have changed. Any other questions? I have a question. I wonder what kind of water is in the pool? What is the water in the pool? And when the pool gets drained, where does the water go? It's not, it's just, I'm just curious about, is it salt water? Is it treated water?
Well, it was after the storm, but no.
Yeah,
It's actually something called EcoSmart, so it's actually bottle quality water. It's
Okay.
an ionization process.
I think you need to get to the mic so that
thank you,
the
yeah.
folks at home can hear you.
And this is Jason, yeah.
So it's not a chlorinated pool currently, nor are we planning on it, but it's called EcoSmart. It's basically an ionizer, and so it uses free radical oxygen and copper.
And the
So-
water just throughout the summer months just gets treated through
Correct.
that process?
That's right.
Okay, so then when you want to drain the pool, does it drain into the shore?
Before, it would just drain underneath the pool house, is where it went, but there is a pipe that goes to where some of the drainage exists.
And so that drainage goes right out into the
It
marine
would be,
waters?
but they use this, actually, the same exact process for treating household water, POE systems, as well as irrigation for golf courses and such.
Yeah.
So the same exact process treats water and gets dispersed into the environment.
Yeah,
So that's why we went with it, because I'm allergic to chlorine, so I didn't have an option. And it was the best option for us in terms of impact on the environment.
okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have comment.
Okay,
There's a reason why we have a shoreline zoning law in Maine, and that's to protect the shore and the environment. And I have no problems with somebody that wants to rebuild their house and that's been damaged by a storm. I guess I have more problems if they just want to tear it down and rebuild it again without that damage. But I understand why there's a balancing test in the law, which in general, if it's more than 50% of a structure, requires that it be moved back to the extent that is reasonably practical. And I think that's a good test. I don't know how you apply that to a swimming pool. I honestly don't. You probably have the right to do this, and I'm not gonna be the one to stand in the way, but I just think to me, the same thing's gonna happen with the next big storm. And, at some point, Harpswell's got to figure out a way to deal with these kind of issues, particularly the tear down issue. That's not the case here. You probably have a right to do this, and I will vote to turn it back to the CEO, but, the codes office. But there's something that we've got to deal with here as a board, ultimately, when it comes to things that aren't a part of, of a house. If it was a shed that tore down, I think we'd be much more a mind to move it back somewhere. There isn't any place to put the swimming pool, particularly after you made those fixes and put the piping right behind it. So we don't have a whole lot of choice here, but it somehow there's something that we need to deal with in Harpswell particularly, because this is just going to happen again. It's too low, and there's too much water near it. That's all I wanted to say.
Yep.
I have something I wanted to say as well, as I told Ms. Pelletier, is that right? Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Yes, Pelletier. When we were there, I'm worried about you guys. Maybe I'm not supposed to have a heart as a planning board member, because we do have to look at the ordinances, but I do worry about the next storm. I mean, I read your description of your emergency work that you had to do. The waves were crashing against your house. I mean, wow. What are you going to try to do to keep the water out the next time around? I wish there wouldn't be a next time, but I know there's going to be a next time. How are you guys going to handle that? As I said, I'm worried about you. That was an actual question. I know it didn't seem like a question, but I as a fellow citizen, I'm a neighbor, I'm concerned for you guys.
Yeah, we've been able to rebuild the riprap wall, and I feel like it's been tested.
Okay.
So therefore, if I hadn't had the opportunity to see it work the way that it's supposed to, then I would have the same fear. But I currently feel pretty positive about the work that was done and where we stand.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you were really devastated by that storm, like with a lot of other people. I know. We all feel for you. It's hard to see that happen to your house. Yeah. Okay, moving along, thank you for your explanation, thank you for coming, thank you for your application. I'm willing to entertain a motion at this point if someone wants to make one, if there's no further discussion. Okay, we're going to move.
I move that the planning board remand the application of Irene Pelletier to reconstruct a non-conforming structure pool on lot 150 on map 34 that will continue to be non-conforming with respect to required shoreline setback to the code enforcement officer for processing. If the proposed reconstruction deviates substantially from this proposal, the town planner shall require that the revised proposal be re-reviewed by the planning board to determine if the board wants to take jurisdiction for the review of the application.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? All right, unanimous. Thank you very much.
Mine
Thank
would have
you.
been a lot shorter. I couldn't have.
Well, you wrote it, I got to do it.
Okay, good.
All right, have a good evening.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, item number 2 has been continued. Item number 3 is Robert Gerlink, the owner, and Diane Plord, the applicant. This is for map 66, lot 26254, West Cundies Point Road, consideration of an application to build a new residential wharf in the resource protection zone. Is there anyone here representing the applicant?
Does not appear,
Oh, that's interesting.
does not appear so.
There's no one?
This is the one that there was no one at the sidewalk.
No, no,
Wow.
And the Diane Plord wasn't there.
no.
The,
Wow.
the person that designs these things.
She should be
Well,
our code enforcement officer.
I hope that this doesn't happen again. So whoever is, if you're watching this after the fact, you really should get yourself down to the planning board. If you want us to take the time to review your application, you should take the time to meet us when we do a site walk, which we do as part of our due diligence as volunteers on the planning board. And you should also take time to come to the planning board to present your application in person, as we also are volunteering our time to be here to review your application for you, so that you can construct a private wharf on your property, or a private dock on your property.
We had some questions when we were at the sidewalk that we now can't get answered.
Okay,
And particularly, the question was the length, the necessity for the length of the aluminum down ramp. Because the one that was on site was extremely long and seemed to us to, if it was put out the way it's described here, it seemed to us that would have an impact on the navigation of that cove, particularly for the fishermen. And I would like to have those questions answered. I don't think we can get answers if there's nobody here. I'm wondering whether or not we should continue this and give them a month to come.
Should
So
we
that we-
ask our question? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I just don't, there's nobody here that knows those answers because I asked them to the folks, everybody that was at the,
Were you there, Matt? Were you at this,
Yeah.
you were? I wasn't there, so.
do you have any thoughts about it?
I can show pictures where there's buoys right where they want to put it. I mean, so 15.3.4, I kind of disagreed with the finding myself. I mean, there's traps there right now.
Okay. 15.3.4, which 15.3.4 of the ordinance, of the shoreline zoning ordinance, basically says the facility shall be located so as to minimize adverse effect on fisheries. And the finding says essentially that the project is being reviewed by both relevant state and federal agencies and will need those permits. But I would like to hear about whether or not, from those who fish, whether or not this.
Can I add, it would help immensely if we knew exactly like where this was gonna sit, too, you know what I mean? Like, because I may be wrong, And it says it's gonna be in 3 feet of water at low tide, but that's 13 feet of water at high tide. And I wondered about the eelgrass that was there too. I mean, that's a known eelgrass cove as well. There's always been eelgrass there. I just wish there was someone that we could ask the questions, I guess is.
There's also 560 square feet of shading that was mentioned. We had some incomplete, this is the one that had some pages that were missing. And that was mentioned that there were 560 square feet of shading, and I, who do not fish, know that you're not supposed to shade, that shading the area can be harmful, I believe, to what's in there. And so I would have been interested to see, has the DEP approved this and the Army Corps of Engineers, right? I
but
think
they're
these-
not concerned with the fishery, the harbor.
DEP
committee.
has approved
Okay.
it, Army Corps has not.
Okay.
That
Yeah, but I
I've heard
still-
of. They might have approved it and they just didn't send it
What
to
other committees does
Wait,
it go to?
Margaret, will you say who you are, even though we all know who you are?
Margaret McIntyre from the Codes Office. I just wanted to say that the Harbor and Waterfront Committee will be reviewing this.
We reviewed it.
Oh, you already
Oh.
have?
Yeah.
And I haven't received the findings, but that part of this process is it goes through the Harbor and Waterfront Committee. They discuss it, then the harbor master will sign off on it, saying it's not going to impact the fisheries. And that approval we get before it gets approved by the select board. So it does go, even though I know it's under your review, but it also will be reviewed by a town committee.
Thank
But we
you.
have to
What
make,
do you think?
That was
That's good to
helpful.
know.
We have
I
to make
don't
a
think Paul was
finding
gonna
of-
sign off on it.
Oh, okay.
So,
What
I
would
think he,
happen?
but I think he was under the same questioning that we are, like we wanted we wanted to know like exactly how long it was gonna be at high tide, low tide, where it was gonna be situated, and it was just hard to tell based on the plans they had submitted.
Well, if you guys want just a thought, you could hold off on approving this until we get a report back from the harbor master and his committees. Yeah,
Well-
if you want to approve it and know that it's not going to impact the fisheries, I think that would be the easiest way.
Well, I would suggest, oh, I'm sorry, Dan.
Yeah, I think I'm going to preempt what Howard is going to say, which is, we should have those approvals before we act, because we are the last step before it goes to the select board.
Agreed.
And so, we ask for all the other approvals. I would be very reluctant to approve something or recommend something subject to a group that hasn't acted on it and may think adversely about it. So I would like to see that here before we do anything.
Well, I will entertain a motion from someone.
well, I definitely move that we continue this for the next meeting
Yeah.
and ask the applicant to be here so that we can get questions answered.
Yeah.
Can I ask that we be a little bit more specific in the motion? In that there are questions that the planning board has that have not been answered, that the approvals from other local boards and other state agencies has not been given to our knowledge, and that since the applicant isn't here, we don't feel comfortable moving forward with this application at this time. So the question is this a continuance or a table?
What's the difference, please?
Yeah.
Margaret's
Practical
laughing at me.
basis, nothing, but
Yeah.
in the normal routine is to continue for, to a time specific under Robert's rules. I mean,
Tabling is not a specific time.
well, you should table to a specific time, but tabling is usually within a meeting. You table it and then bring it back off the table
you.
Oh,
later on, but continuing is I think the right way to do it, but
Yeah.
All right.
it's up to the chair.
Okay, good, okay. So we have a motion. Is the motion clear for those that need to? Okay.
Yeah, and I think as part of this as well, I think Codes now has a pretty good idea of the kind of questions that we were asking, so they may be directed to go and talk to Margaret, for example, as
Okay.
well.
All right.
Well, could we maybe also say that we need, the person that's applying or a representative needs to be here, or we can't do anything, you know what I mean?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, and so the motion is to continue this review till the next meeting,
Yeah.
all right, due to the considerations that have been articulated thus far. All right, so that's the motion that Howard made. Anybody want to second Howard's
I'll
motion?
second it.
Okay, Courtney seconds. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, wow.
Okay, this doesn't have anything to do with a specific application because it's already been continued. But I wonder at some point whether we should be talking about, is there ever going to be a length of a dock that is too long? A dock and a ramp. I'm being very serious
I
about
know.
it.
There is, I can't.
There's
give-
no length, I don't believe. for
Yeah, there is a
residential
length.
lots. You sure?
Yeah,
know
I
there's a
can't
width.
go out, you can't go out into what they call state waters.
'Cause I could not
Basically, I
find
don't know what
anything.
do you know, Margaret?
Much to my
I can-
frustration.
I can find it.
Good, because sometimes the ordinances, I'm like, where is it?
Yeah, I agree.
Margaret wants to say something.
The
Well, it's-
ordinance just says it has to go out the minimum length necessary, you know, in whatever language it says that, but
Right.
they don't give any
I didn't
parameters,
think
and
they
it
did.
really doesn't give us much to go by,
Nope.
because it's all just judgment.
But there has to be a limit sometime. Just because you're living on the water, you should be able to.
Go out in the middle
I'm
of it or
sorry, yeah,
something.
200.
I thought there were, thought either
Anyway.
the state or the feds or somebody had a limit. I heard about it. I'll look into it. I'll get back to you.
Okay, because I couldn't find it.
Yeah,
in
there's
our
a
ordinance.
navigation.
What I do think is
Yeah.
good about this
Right.
application is the wharf is going to not sit on mud or on the flats or on bottom
Yes.
at low tide, and so I feel like it's considered, I think, a deep water dock, but I feel like that's the opposite of most wharf applications that we get, and I think that's worthwhile.
Thank
No,
you.
thank you.
Margaret.
So nice to have her back there.
It's very nice. Yes, we got our two experts here. Okay, we are now moving on. Wow. I thought this was going to be a long meeting.
Yeah.
But
Crank it.
it looks, yeah. This is now Mr. Glenn McAllister, 8 Hummingbird Lane, map 27, lot 83. This is an application for the reconstruction of a non-conforming structure, and the board will consider whether it wants to exercise jurisdiction for this review of this application or remand it to the codes office. Most of us were on the sidewalk. It was a really great sidewalk. It's a beautiful property.
Nice weather, too.
Yeah, nice weather, absolutely. So the applicant is seeking permission to remove a shed and a non-conforming dwelling that were built sometime around 1890, not at least the dwelling, and then replace them with a new dwelling and an attached garage. And the new dwelling will be reconstructed on the existing foundation, which was poured in 2022. The applicant wanted to keep the existing house, but the architect walked in and said, can't do it. So I will turn this over to the planner, Matt, and if you've got any more to add, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, for this application, I'll draw your attention to the septic design.
That's, yes, thank you.
The down the seaside slope, I guess you could say, of that septic field goes out quite far. And I believe that based on that and the site plan and the setbacks, required setbacks, that you wouldn't really be able to fit this house at the bottom of the property because of the septic field and inability to run a driveway down there as well. If you were to essentially move this all the way to the bottom, the driveway would be going right through the toe of the septic field. The rest of the property is very steep and isn't exactly easily buildable either. So considering that and the new foundation that was poured, we're recommending that this is just remanded to the codes office.
Matt, when was the septic system put in?
Should say,
I looked for it, but I couldn't find it. And it may be right there, I just didn't see it.
it looks like 87 maybe?
87. I thought that what I saw, let's see, what did I see? Yeah, okay, yeah, 87. So it's a pretty old septic field.
But as part of the rebuilding process, when they go for a permit, they're going to, codes will ask about that.
Okay.
And pretty probably, unless I'm wrong, ask for a test of the septic system.
Thank you.
Margaret is nodding.
Yeah.
Let the record show Margaret nodded a lot.
Would the board like to hear from the applicant?
Sure. He sat there for this whole time.
Glenn McAllister, the dwelling's at 8 Hummingbird Lane. I live in New Jersey. Hope you don't hold that against me.
We try not to.
It was, it's my intent to actually skew the senior rate, senior percentage in Harpswell now, because I'd like to move up here. So that's really what I like to do. When I put the foundation in a couple of years ago, I was just going to use it as a summer dwelling. Never even thought about moving up here. When I thought about that, I wanted to hire an architect who looked at the place and said, basically, it would be a lot less expensive to tear the place down and rebuild it. Of course, spending all the years up here, summers and stuff, I'm pretty attached to the dwelling itself, despite, it's got some shortcomings relative to the the structure. And I think Matt noted that it was leaning pretty heavily there. And the floors need to be adjusted. I mean, they bounce. I mean, this is 24-inch centers and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just asking, and I'm asking to approve it so I can put a new house there. I still have to come up with how I'm going to finance it. So, but I'd like to take the first step and get your approval first.
So,
Are there any questions?
when the septic system is for seasonal use.
Yes.
So, so you'll have to meet the requirements for, year-round use. And if it gets remanded to the codes office, they'll tell you what your time frame is before you have to start building, so that you don't
Sure.
need to come back and redo the process again. Does anyone have any further questions? No further questions? All right.
Relative to the septic system, my father was an engineer, and I know he helped design it, and my father over-designed everything, just to let everybody know. I know the way it was. And when during the process of the house being raised, I put a riser on the outlet so we could see where the sludge was. And at that point, there was no sludge in the tank, so that was, I guess, 2 years ago at this point. Just to let you know that I think the septic system's working, but we'll definitely have it tested.
Thank you. Good to know. Okay.
Matt has something.
Yeah, at least from my experience, an 87 tank field sounds old. I see plenty of systems that are still kicking from the 70s. And this one was replacing a 1951 system. So they do last 30, 40 years if they're designed
Yeah.
correctly. And we'll see if modern systems can make it that far, but I hope so. Because it's getting more and more expensive to replace them.
Yeah.
Yes.
But 87, it is not as old as one might think as far as septic systems go.
Thank you. We had ours replaced, and it was not even 30 years old, but be that as it may, we have no more discussion. I will make a motion then that the planning board remands the application of Glenn McAllister to reconstruct a nonconforming structure on Lot 27 on map 83 that will continue to be nonconforming with respect to the required side property boundary setback to the code enforcement officer for processing. If the proposed reconstruction deviates substantially from this proposal, the town planner shall require that the revised proposal be reviewed by the planning board to determine if the board wants to take jurisdiction for the review of the application. And I'll take a second.
I'll second it.
Courtney
I'm a
seconds.
professional
All right.
seconder.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No further discussion? All in favor? All right, unanimous, all right.
Thank you very
Go
much.
forth and do your job. Be happy. Wish you all the best. I hope you can retrieve any structures or anything from the inside of that place to use.
There's actually 5 solid wooden doors in place
Wow.
that I really want to reuse. And there's some other things too. If the doors are, for some reason, I've already talked to the builder about it. I said, listen, I want to, I'm sure he's going to buy a pre-hung frame. And I said, we'll throw the other door out and put these doors in there.
Yeah, you can't make those doors anymore.
Yeah, you're in charge, don't forget.
Yeah,
Say, I want the doors.
That's right. Make it
good.
happen, right?
Good for you. We wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
And welcome to Harpswell when you decide.
Yeah.
I think I've made the decision.
Okay, all right, well, we'll be happy to have you. All right. People who have actually been here for 150 years, they're looked on very favorably, even if it hasn't been year-round.
Lay my great hand on that one.
Thanks.
All right, other business, consideration of the minutes from September 18th. I will say I have not read them. I did not read them. So has anyone read the minutes?
Yes,
Okay.
I did read the minutes. And
Thought they were fine.
yeah,
They're fine? All right, I will not vote.
Move that we accept the minutes
Yeah.
from September 18th.
Motion's been made,
Support.
seconded. All those in favor of accepting the minutes? Good, thank you, done.
They were complicated minutes, too.
Yeah, good job.
Yes, it
Yes.
was.
Okay, planners update and code update.
I have one quick thing. Denise and I are working on the schedule for next year, 2025, 'cause it's that time. The meeting for January 15th, the paperwork deadline would be Christmas. So I just want to adjust it. I don't know if you guys have any input. We can do it. I don't know if we want to have our meeting on the regular day. I assume we probably do. None of the other meetings seem to be an issue, but just that paperwork deadline being on Christmas. So I don't know if we want to accept applications a couple days late that month.
I think that would be okay.
Yeah.
I think that would be okay. Would
That
that be
works
okay,
better.
Matt? Okay.
Yeah, so we'll accept applications till Friday. Hopefully we have, we'll have everything.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to change it to the 27th.
And while you're up there, we can talk about this in the workshop, but one of the things that we discussed, Matt, before you got here, was keeping a file of things that the planning board wanted to address in in upcoming zoning ordinance changes. And one of them was Margaret's suggestion that we take a look at requiring a 100-foot setback from the annual high water tide or annual high tide. That was one of them. I think the other one really relates to that, and it's to really start exploring, we talked about this before, but streams and really mapping streams that aren't DEP streams, that are actual intermittent or seasonal or year-round streams that aren't at the confluence of two permanent streams, so that, and then there was something else. There were a couple of other things that I'm trying to remember what they were, but just
It's on that
wondering.
memo that Mark gave us
It's in the memo?
on that issue.
Okay. So just wanting to restate between both of you, could we just keep a regular file on issues that the board wants to take up
Yeah.
for workshops
Yep.
like this? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I do worry about the rising sea levels.
Yeah.
And what are we going to do about asking even for more height on houses that are close to
Yeah.
the water?
Yeah.
I know we've got something now that, new buildings require a certain amount of elevation, but, it's going to be, supposedly, we are having as much sea level rise in the next 30 years as there were for the past 100 years. So it's coming more quickly. And, maybe we won't care by the time it, we'll be pushing up daisies or something like that, but the next generation is going to care.
Mary Ann was working on a grant for doing sea level rise mapping. I haven't heard anything since, have you? But if anything comes of it, I'll make sure I let you know.
Well, Noah has some stuff online about that.
Did anyone look at the article that I sent, I think it was from the Washington Post, about the flooding in Asheville? And the fact that it was really bad because of streams that FEMA hadn't even mapped. And those streams couldn't handle the torrential rain, and those streams are really what caused the problem, and they weren't even on anyone's radar. So it's something to just, that's a different region of the country. It's, it's not the same as Harpswell, but it is something to be aware of, I think, and to start thinking about.
It was behind a paywall. No, I did not read it. I did try.
I did too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You did?
paywall,
Yeah, I
sorry.
tried, but it was behind.
You can't read it.
Okay,
I'm cheap.
thank you.
I'll admit it.
You know what I found out you can do is you open it, you copy the entirety of the thing and paste it to an email.
Okay, I'll do
That
that.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do
Not
that.
legal, but it works.
There's a lot of,
Really? I'm not a lawyer.
man-made
Yeah.
waterways
If you have any Washington Post.
on, at least on Oars that I know of. I mean, there's a big culvert that comes down,
Yeah,
two culverts in Lowell's Cove
Oh, yeah, I've seen those.
that come down and dump into both sides of the cove. And
true.
those were man-made structures because it was ultimately, well, it used to be a farm.
yeah.
Among a bunch of farms up in there and on the hill. And, but that's throughout, this was farm country. And wherever the trees were cleared, there was farms.
Yeah, yeah.
And wherever there's a hill, like Blueberry Hill has a ton of them.
Really?
Blueberry Hill Lane, whatever it is.
Interesting.
And Tower Hill also. So it's not just the streams, it's the water courses,
Yes, yeah. Artificial and natural.
natural.
Okay, so we have a workshop on the 8th or 6th of
I
November,
think that's the 6th.
okay?
Six, is it?
I will be there if I can. If I can't, I won't be there. I may call in. I may not be able to walk, I don't know.
Can I ask a question about that?
Why?
Courtney sent around two articles. I was finally able to open them. And
I don't even remember which ones I sent
one was
out.
on short-term rentals and one was on
That wasn't either.
affordable housing. And both, there are committees, short-term rentals. Obviously, I was on that committee and it got buried. And I don't think the town has any appetite for that subject for the time being. And affordable housing, I know they're going to appoint another housing committee.
Yep.
They've already said that, and so I wonder why. In the third point, I guess I was gonna make was when the comp plan ultimately comes to town meeting, I thought the plan was to have a implementation committee that's separate from the planning board. So we won't necessarily be involved in that, except at the last, any changes to the land use ordinances have to come to planning board at some point before they go to town meeting. But think about that, whether or not we want to take some of that responsibility, or at least in drafting changes to all of our ordinances to tie in with what happens in the comp plan. Right now, there isn't a whole lot of zoning stuff in there.
Is there any teeth in are there any teeth in the
Not anymore.
comp plan?
Some of them are fairly well-rounded, but the teeth are in there. There are things that we're gonna have to do, and
But nothing in the shoreline, for example.
no, but I
Still getting to that though, isn't that next meeting, we're gonna finish hashing that out, I thought.
yeah, and at our workshop, but I just want to say that I don't know if the select board just thinks the planning board has enough on its plate and doesn't want to burden the board with implementation, but I think that the board has a lot of expertise and practical experience with how the zoning ordinances work and don't work. And so it would be good if someone from the planning board is also on the implementation committee. And so I would encourage you, if you want to contact the select board and let them know. I think it's really important.
Not you, Matt. I'm thinking about how many committees you're on. You were looking down at the table
Yeah,
and like,
I
no,
said,
no.
don't pick me.
No, but I really hope that someone will take that up. I'm pretty much, I've spent 3.5 years almost on the comp plan,
Wow,
and
that's
I think
amazing.
I've had my fill.
Yeah.
But I really hope someone will participate on that implementation committee. Or at least if you're interested, let the select board know, and hopefully they'll appoint you. And I did hear from Christie,
Oh, I was
as
gonna
you
ask
all
about
know.
that. I
Pardon
was
me?
going to ask about that.
Yeah.
That was nice.
What is this? What?
Yeah, the memo that we wrote regarding the sheds, the 200 square foot limits,
Yeah.
it's going to be on the select board's agenda at their next meeting, which I think is next
Tomorrow.
Thursday.
It's tomorrow, isn't it? Or is it next Thursday?
No, it's next week.
Next Thursday.
That would be this Thursday.
Yeah,
At least that's the way I just.
It's
I
not,
do it.
it's not,
not tomorrow.
it's not
week from
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
It's a week
Okay.
from tomorrow.
All right.
So if you'd like to come, or just so that you know.
They can't do anything until after the election.
Okay.
So
anyway.
is she hoping to have an answer from them, and then the select board make a decision, or what's the select board gonna do about that?
You know, I think that's a good question. I think we should come to that meeting to ask that question and have a conversation
Okay.
with the board about that.
Okay.
Congress is not in session at the present time. It won't be until after the election.
Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, I know that as Rep. for Senator Cohen, that's exactly the kind of thing we did. So, and the request to get a staff member to come down and actually speak with fishermen,
Yes.
see what's on the land, on the ground, and get them to really understand clearly what the ramifications of ignoring this are, and then follow it up with more letters, more memos, more whatevers, and just stay on the issue. Don't let it go away. You know, we got 9 miles of fuel depot pipeline removed by the federal government because we contacted our congressionals, and they came down here and met with us. We were told that that would never happen, and it happened. Right, so that's their job,
Yep,
Yep.
all right?
that's the way to go.
All right, anything else from Matt? Are you,
No, I mean,
Good to go?
I think every update I've had for you happened at the last workshop. I'm going to, my goal right now is to try to start streamlining some things and get some stuff in a place that I'm able to take over from Mark and make this go smoothly. Those of you on the comp plan task force know how much I have on my plate in the next month or two with that, so it won't be my main focus, but it's something that's happening in the background.
so what I will say to you publicly what we talked about today, and just for the board to know, the board really has your back. We want to help you if we can, so don't hesitate to reach out. Let us know if you have a time crunch, if you can use our expertise. We got 2 lawyers, we got smart people. Let us know if in any appropriate way we can be of assistance.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right,
Those
good.
two are exclusive, by the way, the lawyers and the smart people.
Well,
We don't want to mention them, that's because I have no expertise, but that's all right.
I was going to say, we have
You
PhDs.
have life expertise.
We have people that have PhDs in practical experience on this board,
Yeah.
so we're good.
So
All right.
at the workshop, is that when we're going to be talking about the commercial fishing?
I think so.
Okay.
Yep, I think so.
Okay. What time is that again? I'm sorry.
I think it's at 4 o'clock.
4, I think the workshops are
Okay.
usually at 4, right?
Okay. If I can't be there, I'll call in. I'm having spinal fusion surgery on the 28th of October. And so I don't know if I'll be able to sit, or I don't know, I have no idea.
Right.
So whatever, I'll be in touch,
Yeah.
you know? If I can be there on the phone just listening in, I will.
Okay, would you, before that, would you forward on the recommendations for those definitions?
Oh, yes. I didn't do that, okay? All right, Matt, would you do that? Would you forward, you mean the commercial fishing definitions?
Right, the ones that Matt and I were working
They're on everybody's
Yeah,
desk.
we
They're
have them.
right
I got one.
there.
I have them, yeah. It's-
Yep.
I put it in my
They're done.
binder already.
I didn't get one, but that's
Well,
okay.
you wrote it,
'cause
so we don't feel sorry for
I
you.
kind of have one.
Okay, so everybody does have one,
I
okay.
had
I
it.
have them right here.
I'm sure
Okay.
I've got it in here.
Does that satisfy your request?
That satisfies
Okay.
my request.
Super duper. All right, no further business? All right, I declare this meeting adjourned.